Taylor.
And I'm Jenna Morton, and we are so excited to be back in studio this week.
Oh, it feels good, doesn't it?
It feels so wonderful. Although I have to say the lights are a little brighter here than at home.
Yeah, absolutely. My little den there, it's so dark that Charles is like, I have to bring you some lights. Our Rogers guy provides lights, so it's not so dark in my little dungeon.
No, but it's fantastic to be here and to have a guest with us.
Yes.
That is one of the best parts about being coming into studio and, things being a little bit safer in our world.
Yes.
And speaking of keeping things safe, we have some fabulous information that we're going to share with you today, thanks to Mischka Jacobs.
Hi,
Welcome.
it's so nice to be with you. Oh my word, I'm so glad we're back to yellow. I can't even explain.
It's fantastic. And I'm so glad that we get to do this with you and to talk about this because I think what we're going to talk about today is going to be new to a lot of people. And it's such fabulous, fabulous information because it's all about information. So what we're talking about is the new service 211.
Yes.
And I want you to tell people just what that is.
Well, 211 in a nutshell is the front door to help. Like that's as clear as I can explain it. If you need help of any kind, you can call 211 and we have community navigators that will connect you to the right resources. So you no longer have to spend hours calling people. You no longer have to spend hours going through website after website after website trying to find someone who will help you. We have a database with government, human, social, and community supports, resources, and programs that are available to New Brunswickers, or I should say, to anyone who calls New Brunswick home. And, we're seeing an uptake like you can't imagine. 1,600 calls already. And what's important about the service is 24/7, right? We are always going to be there to support you. You get to speak to a real human being. You don't have to deal with a bot or a pre-recorded message. And we answer calls within 30 seconds.
Whoa. Oh my goodness, 30 seconds.
Within 30 seconds. You
That's
are not,
amazing.
exactly, you're not put on hold for an hour before you can speak to someone. And with interpretation services, we have access to 170 languages. So you can speak with as much ease as possible.
That is absolutely incredible.
Whoa.
So all you have to do is pick up the phone, call 211 with basically any question you have about services you might need in this province.
Yes, so we are not crisis management or counseling, so it's important to understand that. We're not going to offer you advice, but what we will offer you is information. But we can help with so much. If you need help with financial assistance, food access, you want to navigate COVID-19 relief programs, what does the new orange mean? You can call us. Parent support, newcomer support, family support. If you have, aging parents who are feeling lonely, we can connect you with resources to help them. It's really for everyone.
I feel like you're like Google before there was too much information on the internet
Yeah.
to make sense of, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you used to think of the internet as. Oh, I can find everything. But now there's so much there that it's so hard to actually find the things you need. And so now you can call someone who will help you find all those things and make sure you go and get the accurate information and the right resources that you need that are going to actually help you.
Yes, and what we're finding is, today you have a certain priority. So you call because you need food access. You don't have money to buy food. And so you're worried about your family and your children and whether or not you're going to have food on the table tonight for supper. But we're able to ask you questions and you can ask us questions. So today your challenge is food, but tomorrow you have to figure everything else out. And so you may need financial assistance, you may need shelter, you may need, housing, and probably mental health resources because that's a very stressful situation, right? So we can ask you questions and get the fuller picture and give you all the help you need, not just the help you need today, but all of it.
I am impressed with the amount of calls you've had already. When did it launch?
We launched mid-October.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're not even 2 months old. We've had over 1,600 calls, and we're seeing calls across the country, in English, in French, in the north, the south, the middle, everyone's calling. And I think that speaks to the need that New Brunswickers are facing, especially through the pandemic. It is not easy. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety that's happening. People don't know if their job's secure, and that's coming through. And, life can be very hard, We don't want finding help to be hard. We want it to be easy.
Well, and that's the thing, there are so many fantastic resources that we just need to be able to make that time quicker between people knowing they exist and accessing them so that they can get the help that is out there waiting for them. So the fact that this province now has a way to do that is just so fantastic. I'm so excited about it. Can you tell us about some of those success stories, some of those calls that have come through that you guys know we are helping people?
Yeah. Oh, the stories that are coming through are very powerful. We've had a mom call in, and she said she needed help with food. She didn't have any money, she wasn't working, and she was worried about dinner that night for her kids. She explained that the father at home is violent, and so we immediately asked her, are you safe? Are your children safe? And she said yes. And we said, okay, do you have all the resources you need on domestic violence? Because that's important. And she said, yes, we're working on a plan to get me and my children out safely. I need food. So we helped her get in touch with social assistance and the food banks in her area. And so, we don't do crisis management and we don't do counseling, but we are there to support you. And if she needed help with domestic violence resources, we could immediately connect her with those in her area. We had a father call in. He had an adult daughter, 26 years old, and she was living at home. So he called for resources to help her find housing so she could live independently in the community. And while the community navigator is looking for those resources, they're talking, right? It's an exchange, a conversation. And she starts learning that this daughter is seeing a counselor once a week and she needs mental health resources. So she says, would you like to know more? Would you want to know what's out there? He's like, absolutely. So she connected him with the Canadian Mental Health Association, a personal support worker service, different resources. And he had no idea that those services existed, right?
All just from a phone call.
From one phone call. Yeah. We had a senior call in. He was really angry. He was disabled and he couldn't afford home repairs that he really needed to do. And so he really wanted a call to complain.
People need that too.
Which is fine. Like, we don't mind. You can, because it means that there's a need there, right?
Exactly.
And so we can talk about your complaint and figure out a way to help you. And so we connected him to social development. We talked to him about the disabled seniors credit tax. What's it called? Disabled seniors tax credit through the CRA. There we go.
I'd imagine there are a lot of acronyms and a lot of phrases that you've learned over the past couple months.
Yes. Yeah, so we told him about the disabled seniors tax credit through the CRA, and told him about the seniors booklet. It's a guide to all the benefits that they can get through different programs and services, which he also had no idea that support was out there. And then in speaking to him further, he's feeling very isolated and lonely, and he's struggling with the whole COVID situation. So we were able to tell him about the Friendly Callers program as well, that's offered through Red Cross. And so he calls angry because he can't fix his house, but he gets so much support after that call, right? And if we see that callers are really in a very terrible situation, we can offer follow-ups, right? With their permission, and we always work with their permission. So if you call about your daughter needing housing, and we say, do you want mental health resources? And you say no, we will respect that, right? We're not here to push help down anyone's throats. But if you want a follow-up and you accept it, we will call you back. We will make sure that you get the help you need. When needed, we'll even advocate for you to make sure that you get the resource.
Is there a list of things that people can call about? I know you said a broad, pretty much anything, but what exactly is the breakdown of what people can call for information about?
I don't want to narrow it down because the way we can help is so wide.
Well,
it really is so wide. Newcomer support. What does that mean? We can connect you to multicultural associations, settlement agencies, but if you have kids and you don't know how to get your child into school, you can call 211. We have access to the Anglophone and Francophone school districts, right? We can help you navigate that. So
I think there are a lot of parents, whether they've lived here for any length of time or not, have trouble understanding how the system works. And especially anyone who moves into the province from anywhere and is not used to, like, some people move from Ontario and expect there to be a similar setup here where there's,
Right.
you know, public and Catholic and private and all these options, and you can pick where your kid goes. And those people who live here are kind of like, no, what's your postal code? That's where you go.
Yeah.
Right, but it's so, each place is so different, and to be able to have one resource now where you can be like, okay, help me, it's just so powerful.
It is, absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, if you want to know some of the things, you know, financial assistance, food, shelter, COVID relief programs, mental health resources, parent support, newcomer support, programs for seniors. If you've experienced job loss, you can call us. If you are looking for job training, like, that's not a negative need, right? That's really exciting. If you need job training, oh my word, that is exciting for you or like a staff member or a colleague. You can call us and we can try and help find programs that will support that. So the list is very, very broad. The questions we've received are very broad. We had someone reach out to us asking about a friend who doesn't have any identification. That's a concern for many programs, right? But you can still call 211 and we will help you figure that out, right? Maybe we'll start with how about to get an identification.
There could be all kinds of reasons why that's an issue.
Yes.
But even if you're someone who, you know, has a piece of ID right now, to get a second piece, because you need two pieces for a lot of things, you know, knowing, whether Service New Brunswick is the place to go or someone else or somewhere else, and
Service
what's
Canada,
open, and like all that is overwhelming for someone who's used to finding information, let alone someone who has any kind of challenge with that, whether it's internet access or just not understanding the systems.
Yeah, and depending on, you know, how much stress you're under and how critical the need is, you may not have a week to do research on your own.
Yeah, that's
Just-
a very good point.
Just in terms of pure energy, you may not have the energy to research for a week, right? And so we don't want to let anyone in New Brunswick be left behind, to be unsupported. So, you know, we're making waves with 211. And this is just the beginning, right? And these are the powerful stories coming from just, you know, 2 months of existence, not even. And so I hope everyone knows about 211. And I hope everyone sees themselves in 211. You don't need to be homeless to call. You don't need to be struggling with schizophrenia to call. You could just be having a tough time this week, right? And you can call and find out what help is out there for you. We had a single mom of 5 children, call in, and she didn't identify any needs. She was just curious about the resources that are out there that could help her. So I think it came more from a point of curiosity, and then through asking questions and talking about, you know, where she lives and, you know, what's her financial situation, it became very clear that she needed help with rent and food and clothing. And so we were able to connect her to resources, but we were also able to connect her to resources to get Christmas gifts for her children, right? Christmas is going to be a tough time this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be tough for everyone. You know, families are apart, we can't see each other, and so we can help.
Well, we need that little bit of extra magic this year, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just to get that lift in your spirits, and just to be able to call a number and know that a person is going to answer the phone, like you said, is so powerful for so many people. You know, like the senior who needed to vent for a while, right? Like it's that human connection as much as the information that you're going to get from the phone call.
Yes, and you know, these community navigators are not call center people. They are trained in, you know, the resources that are out there. They're trained experts in this field. A lot of them come from social work or psychology backgrounds. They've all been doing years of community work. They're very passionate about helping people, and they undergo extensive training to be community navigators, right? They need to be able to identify crises. They don't manage crises, but they have to identify it to understand, you know, how bad is the situation and like are you going to make it through this call and afterwards? They need to be able to like de-escalate any tension. So, you know, the gentleman who called who was really angry, like you need to calm this person down in order to find out more information. They need to be able to really read between the lines, you know, and be able to ask questions gently and get information so that we can provide you with all the information you need. And then they're also very respectful. So if you say no, it means no.
Right.
Right? If you don't want to know about it today, that's okay. 211 will always be there for you. Yeah.
Have you seen a common thread in what topics people are calling about right now? I mean, I assume it's COVID, but that's...
Yeah, COVID is, it's in the top 5.
Okay.
It's not number 1, it's in the top 5.
Okay.
You know, understanding COVID relief programs, what does the new orange mean, questions for clarification. You know, every time there's an announcement, people are calling in.
For sure.
Yeah. But we're also seeing mental health resources, you know, whether that just be understanding counseling services that are out there, different programs, people wanting information on crisis intervention. So we'll bucket that under mental health. We're seeing financial assistance is very high, food and shelter. And then programs for seniors. You know, our seniors are very lonely right now. They're vulnerable, they're isolated. We're worried about them, so they need to stay home. But it's tough. It's tough for us where we can have a family and, you know, when we're allowed to have that second bubble family, right? It's still not enough sometimes. So when you're really alone in your house all the time, like that's hard.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. What is, you had mentioned it earlier, and I know it's something that you sidetracked them to, but the talk line. I think that's pretty important for seniors to know about. Anybody, really, because it's not just seniors that are lonely.
Well, no, and for everyone to know, to share this information so that it gets to the people that do need to know to call.
Yes, and I also think the beauty of 211 is we will not refer you to resources that you're not eligible for.
Okay.
So if you're an adult, we're not going to send you to an organization that specializes in youth, and vice versa, right? So these seniors resources that help with financial assistance, like the disabled seniors tax credit, we're not going to give you that information if you don't qualify for that information. And so we're helping both sides, right? We're making sure you get the help that you qualify for, but we're also making sure that community organizations are receiving calls that they can help with, right? It's both sides. We want to ease the burden of research and of navigation for both callers and for all of those phenomenal organizations in our communities that are doing the really hard work.
I absolutely love that. Disseminating information is so my thing.
Right?
It is. It's so the more things exist and the more things, you know, more people rely on the internet to get their information, the harder it is to make those proper matches. And like you said, people get overwhelmed with trying to find stuff, but then people get overwhelmed trying to point people in the right direction when that's not their job. And now there's someone who that's their job. And that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the quality of the people that are doing this work, these navigators, it's a perfect fit. It's so fantastic.
Oh, the community navigators are inspiring. We have one who, you know, she studied psychology, then she went into teaching, training. She was an outreach worker, walking the streets. She worked with, you know, at-risk youth and, you know, youth who have committed crimes or who are leading down a very problematic life path. Like really phenomenal work, right? And that's the caliber of our community navigators.
How many people do you have working as navigators? Because it sounds like a lot of work. Like you must have like an army.
Yes and no. So our partner behind the 211 system is called Find Help, and they are supporting many provinces across Canada, and they are phenomenal. And so here in New Brunswick, we have 2 bilingual community navigators. They're born and raised here, and that was important for us. We have 2 editors working on our database because you know, community work is a constantly evolving landscape. So we need people dedicated to making sure we're updating those resources and keeping, you know, a good pulse on what's happening in community work. And so we've got the 2 community navigators to begin with, and we may have more in the future, but they form part of a national team as well. And so that's how we guarantee that we answer calls within 30 seconds. So if their lines are tied up, the overflow will go to the national team, and that's how we support overnight as well.
Right. That was my next question with 2 people. I'm like, wow, they're
You're
impressive.
burn them out fast.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
if you have that whole team that you can rely on. That's fantastic.
But, you know, it's not a bad thing having that national team, because some questions are interprovincial, right? So we had a mom call because her son is a student and he's a single dad with 2 kids in a different city, in a different province. And, you know, we're able to access their databases and vice versa. So we were able to explain to him about, or put him in touch with student assistance programs in his area, and then as well as food banks, right? So if you don't have to worry about food, maybe that helps ease the burden today, right? Or in general for the next little while until he finds employment. We put him in touch with resources on employment counseling as well. And that's only made possible by having access to the national database and the national team.
I can just imagine so many little like alarm bells going off for people now who are like, oh, I've been trying to figure out how I could help my cousin, my son, my daughter, my parents who live somewhere else. Because especially during this time where everything's so locked down, it's that much harder to try to go and help someone when you want to, and to be able to tap into that is fantastic.
Yeah.
How many other provinces have this type of program?
So as of October 15th, it's available nationwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's, I mean, especially in bigger provinces, like I'm like back home in Ontario, I can't even fathom how many phone calls they get a day, but it's such a great resource to have. And then also, of course, with the national, it gives easier access to everybody else, right, to everything else. So that's phenomenal. Okay, so where, I was like, maybe New Brunswick thought it up, but I guess we didn't. But do you know where this idea originated from and how long it's been running nationwide? Put you on the spot.
I know. I want to say Ontario, but I don't want to lie.
Yeah, that's fine.
They're pretty big. They might have started that.
Yeah. But the United Ways of New Brunswick have been working on bringing 2-on-1 to the province since 2007.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Since 2007.
Okay.
And so they were able to work with the federal government. They are funded the first 6 months of the program. And then we were working with, great partnerships with the government of New Brunswick, the St. John Human Development Council, ESIC, Find Help, phenomenal partner who's basically providing the whole system. So, a lot of partnerships, a lot of connections, time, energy has gone into bringing 2-on-1 here. And I think, the federal government was able to see the value of 2-on-1 elsewhere, especially in supporting residents through COVID. And then the provincial government also saw that, and the United Ways and the 2 levels of government were able to bring it here.
Well, and obviously the amount of calls you've had just in these 2 months speaks volumes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have to conclude our conversation for today, but obviously we need to remind people just how they access this.
You just call 2-on-1.
That's
Literally.
Usually we have this long spiel. You can find us here, and you can look for this. Pick up your phone and call 2-on-1. It works on cell phones, works on landlines.
Yes. And it's free.
Anywhere.
It's free. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. I've loved this conversation. I can't even, the amount of time that I have spent Googling nonsense and not finding the answer I want when I could just pick up the phone.
Yep.
Sounds amazing.
Now
it really
you can.
does. And now we can. That's right. 2-1-1.
Thank you, Mischka, so much for coming in and telling us about this. And I hope that by the next time we check in, your calls have quadrupled at least.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, but a bad thing, right? You're like, we want to see the calls soar, but do we really?
Yeah.
We want people to be getting all that good information.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
that's right.
Absolutely. But thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Tosh. It's been lovely.
It has been. Perfect. Thank you so much for watching and for listening.